Daniel Robinson here, and if you use Elead1, I want to show you a nice report that I put together using Elead1 and Excel. Basically what I do, and I do this on a weekly basis and on a monthly basis. So I go to search, and then I use the first name, last name of the customer in Elead. You click on this search right up at the top here. I get rid of the phone number. We want as little as we need for the salespeople. So I think first last name is good. What vehicle they're interested in. We want to have the salesperson listed. And then right here, this is where I go. And what I do is I usually go the Thursday before, and then the Sunday. So we're covering a little bit more than a week. Actually, not Sunday, we go Saturday. I go to Saturday there. So Thursday before and then Saturday, the date in start, and I make sure that that is showing. And then I show the source type and the lead provider. I want to make sure I'm only getting their active customers. And then we also want the last contact date. So basically that's all the information I want. And the way you can make that information show on your report is where this computer is. Just make sure that box is clicked. So right now we've got first and last name of the customer, the primary salesperson, the date in, start and end date. So basically anybody that came in from this date to this date is going to show up. That is active. And I'm not going to show that. We know that we're using just active, so we don't have to show that. We do want the source type and the lead provider though, and then the last contact, start and end date, and you don't have to put a start and end date in there. Just we want to show the last contact date for every customer, so I click that as well. And then the make and the model and the type. So that's basically what's going to show in the report. Just make sure display results is selected, and then I hit go. And basically we're going to have it's displaying 120 customers. Now, what I'm going to do with this report is I can just look at it and glance at it here, but what I want to do is I want to export it to Excel because I'm going to do some modification in here. So right here it says download to Excel. You click on that and it actually downloads a file, and then you put that wherever you want it to go. Let's just put it on desktop for now, and I hit save, and you can change the name right here if you want to. It's saving it as an Excel comma separated, a CSV file is what those are called, comma separated value file. And when I hit save, it's going to save it right down here. Now because I have Excel already installed, all I need to do is click on that, and it's going to open it up in an Excel spreadsheet, which is what I want. The first thing that I do is, that's probably the best way to do it, hit the control button and the A button, and it selects all. And then I want to change the format so that it's an auto fit the column width so that everything shows here. So now we have everything showing. The second thing that I want to do is I want to take this last contact, and I actually want to move it over right beside this date in. So I select the whole column by just clicking on this J right up here. And if I right click and hit cut, you see now it's highlighted. And then I go over to this wanted vehicles right next to the date in. I select here and I right click and insert cut cells right here. It puts that information in where I want it right next to this. Now I want 2 blank cells right next to this last contact. So if I select the H, right click and hit insert, it puts 1. If I do it again, it puts 2 columns. I'm going to name this column 1 day follow-up. I just use FU. 1 day follow-up. And then the second thing I want is last contact date. So I'm going to call this last contact date. Okay. So the first thing I want to do is I want to check these two and see if they were only contacted the initial date that they came in. So how I do that, I hit the equals button. So that means that I'm going to put a formula there, and then I'm going to type if. And the nice thing about Excel is it starts putting the functions in here, and it'll show you the steps that you need to take. If you're going to do an if function, you type in if, and then you put that left parenthesis right there, and then it's going to ask you what your logical test is. Basically what you want to do is see if this equals that. So it's very simple. You click on this F2 and then you hit equals right there. I typed in equal, and then you go G2. So if F2 equals G2, and then you put a comma, I want an X in that box if that's the case. So what I do is I use a double quote, I put an X, and then I end the quote. That's the value I want if it's true, is the X. If it's not true, then I just want a blank. So I just put 2 double quotes. That's the value if it's false, and then I end the parenthesis, and we're good. Now because this is false, no X is showing up. If this date, and I'll just do it here real quick for you. Just copy and paste that. See, because this date now is the same as this, now an X is showing up in that box. Now what we want is we want this formula to check each and every one of these all the way down to row number 121. The easiest way to do that is select the row where the formula is, and you see there's a little box right here in the bottom right corner. If I scroll over it, it puts a small plus sign. If I just drag that all the way down to 121, it puts that formula in every one of these. So now every X has 1 day follow-up. Everyone that doesn't have an X has a follow-up after the initial date. X's are usually not a good thing. The second thing that we want to do is take the last contact date and compare it to today's date to see when the last follow-up was. What we do again is we go to the cell that we want it in. We hit the equals button. That means that we're going to do another formula. And they have a nice formula called today, T-O-D-A-Y, and then you just put the parentheses in. So basically that's using today's date. And then I want to say today minus last contact date. So if I hit the minus button, which I just did, today minus, and then I go and click on last contact date, which is cell G2, it puts G2 in there, and then I hit enter. Now, you see here where it shows 1/9/1900. We don't want it to show that. What we just want it to show is a number. So I highlight this whole column by just clicking on the eye, and then I go over to Format and scroll all the way down. There's a down arrow here, and I want to click on this Format Cells, and I just want to make it a number. So if I click on the number right under General is number, and I don't want any decimal places, so I just get rid of the 2 and make it a 0. No decimal places, and it shows you here how the numbers will look. If there's 1 decimal place, it'd have the 0 here. If it's 2 decimal places, it would have the 0 here. We don't want any decimal places, so we just do that and hit OK. Now that changes that to a 9. So it's been 9 days since this customer was followed up on. Again, we want to make sure that this whole column has this formula in it and compares each and every one of these. So what we do is we go down to the bottom right where this little box is. When that plus sign goes from a big plus sign to a thinner plus sign, we can left click on the mouse, hold it down, and scroll all the way down to 121, which is our last row right there, and release it. And now we have all the numbers seeing when the last follow-up was. Once we have all that set up, I like to go to cell A1, hit Control A to select all again, and I want to right justify all of this, which is right here. If you're on the home page, it's on alignment. I'm sorry, left justify. I said right. We want it left justified. So now it puts everything left justified. So everything looks good. Now what we want to do is we want to print this out for every salesperson. Something very simple in Excel is your data section. If I go over to data and then I click filter, this little filter button here, you'll notice that it puts drop downs in the header rows. The first thing I want to do is sort this by contact date, and what I want to do is go from largest to smallest so we can see what customers have not been followed up in the longest period of time, clear down to people that have been followed up today, which is all the zeros. Once we do that, the next thing I want to do is just show specific salespeople so that I can print that information out for that salesperson. So if I click on the drop down on salesperson, and where it says select all and all of the salespeople are selected, I just click that button and it gets rid of all of them. So now the first thing I'm going to do is click on Amanda. I click on Amanda and hit OK. Now it is just showing Amanda's customers, and it's showing Amanda's follow-up and the last contact date clear down to the customers she's followed up on today, and any X's that's on there, of course, is a customer that was contacted on that date and not contacted since then. It's a nice report, kind of tells on your salespeople a little bit, but it lets you know who's doing a good job of follow-up and who needs some work done. The final thing that I want to show you, and that is to print this page out. What you want to do is use Print Preview. Go to Print. By hitting this circle up here, go to Print, Print Preview, and you see how it's going to print, which we don't want it like this because it's going, there's 3 pages. We want it all to fit on one page. So if I click Page Setup, I want to first of all make it landscape. The second thing that I want to do is I want to fit it 1-to-1. Now if you did a month's worth, you might want to go 1 page wide to like 3 pages tall, and then you want to change it so that these headers show up on every page. I'll show you how to do that some other time. But right now we just want to go fit 1-to-1. and hit OK. And now it puts all the customers on one page for you. All you need to do is print it, give it to the salesperson, print a couple copies, give a copy to the salesperson and the manager. And I hope you like that little report there in Excel. If you have any questions, go ahead and email me, smartautoad@gmail.com. smartautoad@gmail.com. Hope you enjoyed that. Hope you use it. And hope to hear from you.